Welcome to season 2 of the Silvie Celiz Truth, the podcast. Blah, 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 blah. Hi, everybody. This is season 2, Silvie Celiz Truth, coming in hot because it's so hot right now with all these lights. I mean, there's only 2 lights, but it's still hot. The truth is that I don't even know how to start this podcast right now. I'm going to tell you about 3 things. The 3 things that have returned me to the truth of who I am, to the core of my essence, to what matters most to me, and embodying and expressing that truth. Here's the thing. When you begin to return to yourself, to the truth of who you are, to the core of your being, to what feels so much more like the essence of yourself, it feels so good and exciting to be in your body, to be in your life, no matter what's happening. It's not like things are different than before. What's different is you. What's different is how connected you are to yourself. What's different is how in tune and in rhythm you are with your own rhythm. And that's one of the things I want to talk about today, is those 3 things that have totally supported me in returning to the truth of who I am, into my own essence, and then embodying that and then expressing that, right? Living that out, projecting that reality into my life, because we are all projectors of reality, all of us. We are consciousness, and whatever data, whatever information we carry within us, this energy, which is data, which is information, a compendium of what I call your hard drive that you've collected for however many lifetime experiences, that becomes your frequency. That signal is then projected into reality, and it collapses into the physical world. And we all do this together. And that's why we all have our own interpretation of reality, because we have this projection that we are putting out, but also we are kind of experiencing other people's interpretations. That's why I call this podcast the Silvie Celiz Truth, because this is my view of reality. This is my truth. This is my angle. This is my lens that I'm sharing with you. And I want to empower everyone to deepen into their own truth, to uncover their own truth, to marinate themselves in their truth, in their essence, in their frequency, and then come into life experience from that essence, that perspective. And it also feels so good because it's authentic. It feels natural. So you don't waste energy. It's sustainable because you don't waste energy projecting something that you are not. You are just naturally being, rather than having to do or pretend or perform, and then it becomes draining and exhausting. And some of the things in my life I felt were really draining me. That's why I took a break from social media for the last 2 years, from clients, from creating anything, because I really wanted to first realize and then remove all the things that felt like were draining my energy or making me feel burnout. And most of those things that were draining me and burning me out are actually programs, thoughts of ideas of who I thought that I had to be, or systems that I thought I needed to adhere to, ideas or beliefs that I thought unconsciously, that I thought that I had to live by. In order to what? And that's what got me. In order to what? For what? What exactly am I seeking by doing that? And so I started to really question deeper, asking myself deeper questions. And through my practice, my soul technology, as I call it, spiritual technology called MOVEbit, that I'm going to tell you a little bit about, I kept going deeper within myself, within myself, and I got to a place or I got to a state where I started to receive downloads of the answers that gave me the clarity, the leads, because you get to channel information, download information from the universe through this MOVEbit practice. MOVEbit is embodied alchemy for the soul. It's how your body processes information, clears distortion, expresses memory, unlocks emotion, alchemizes emotion, processes emotion. And our intuition, which is really the home of our authentic self, of the core of our being, and it is where we have direct access to the databases of the universe, to source. It is the home of emotions, of all of our supernatural abilities. We spend so many of our years developing the intellect at school, which is intellectual pursuits, academics, all that jazz, where we use reasoning and logic and linear processing. We develop that. And then we think we can live out from that. And that's why it becomes so stressful, because it's a very judgmental, it's about judgment, it's about assessment, it's about planning. And all those things are amazing, and we need those things in this world. However, we don't need to live out of that state, because it doesn't work. Then we begin to judge ourselves. We begin to assess ourselves. It doesn't allow you to be in the present moment. Intuition, on the other hand, intuition is the present moment. It allows us to be multidimensional. It allows us to be nonlinear, abstract, creative, all the things that honestly is what we need moving forward in this reality where we're going in such a digital space with AI and all the things that are coming. However, we need to develop that. That needs to be developed. But how do we develop that? Even though I was born predominantly very, very intuitive, still you have to develop that raw material that it's like a diamond in the rough. It needs to be chiseled at. In order to see the diamond, you need to cut it in order to see all of the different light dimensions, the more that it can shine depending on the cut of the diamond. Well, intuition is the same way. You have to develop it. You have to build that muscle so that you can get better at it and that it can bloom like a flower. And it is just so beautiful. It's so powerful. It's so efficient. That's intuition. Intuitive space is an alternate state of consciousness, okay? An altered state. And for me, the fastest, most efficient way to drop into intuitive space has been through intuitive dance. And it's not just intuitive dance. It's sound and music. I mean, I put them separate because sound could be just any sort of sound that you hear, and then music is a piece of music. And I think that both, whatever sounds are coming out of me plus whatever music I'm listening to, plays a huge part. And I'm going to tell you why. Because within ourselves, I personally feel that we are all music. We all have music within us. It is pulsing through our veins, through our entire being. It has tempo, it has rhythm. The universe has tempo, has rhythm. And that rhythm, that pulse, that we don't even realize that it's there, but it's there within our heartbeat, within the pulse of that propels each cell to move forward and to keep flowing through our veins. All of that is musical. The universe is musical. What I want you to know is that when you listen to a piece of music that you feel inside of yourself, that it just lights you up and it brings you online, quote unquote, like it just brings you into the present moment. I see our bodies as an interface. And so I use my body to move, to bring me, when I hear that sound, to as an instrument that begins to take me into that present moment. We have this body for context, to have a deeper understanding of ourselves, of life. So when you hear a piece of music that completely tunes you into yourself, that completely resonates, it creates so much coherence within you. The emotions that you have within yourself, it could bring you to tears. It could bring you to excitement. It could, whether it's whatever emotion that you need to feel at that moment that feels expressed, because feelings are there to be felt. Feelings are there to be felt, and they all carry messages. They all carry information that is for us to decode, to go deeper, to inform us. Having that relationship with ourselves is so powerful, and it helps us to return to the truth of who we are. And so it's like, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but when you have two guitars and you flick an E string, the other guitar, without even touching it, the E string will start to oscillate, vibrate, without no one even touching it. That is resonance. That is activation. Activation. And that happens with us, with a piece of music. And on top of that, then when you use your body to intuitively become that piece of music and express through emotion, through movement, what you're feeling, because feelings, again, I said they're meant to be felt. It's not about talking about the feeling, explaining, well, I feel like this. Like, no, it's about feeling it. So you have this space. You get to have this intentional space, right? This is what MOVEbit is about. To create this intentional safe space for you to feel everything, for you to become. And what I love about movement, or what I love about dance meditation, is that you get to practice being in an alternate state of consciousness, in intuition, in the home of self, right? Being in the authentic space, being yourself, your essence, projecting the core of who you are, while you're moving, which when the whole day we're moving, we are going somewhere, we are in the presence of people, or whether we're washing dishes, or we're creating a piece of art, or we are working out, or we are with our children, or we are with friends, or we are working, or we're taking the bus here and there, or driving the car there. There's action, there's movement in life. In life, there is movement. Even when you are still, everything around you and within you is moving. There's constant movement. I have seen The Matrix, my version and truth of The Matrix, and it is like constant movement, waves, and they go everywhere. And there's pixels, and there's a bunch of, like, every color you can think of, and it's all happening at the same time. Nothing is in stillness, everything is moving, but it's also somewhat still, but it's also moving. That's what I saw. That's the vision that I had. And so to me, it makes so much sense, and it has worked out so much for me that it's really helped me in life and in motherhood. For example, that I homeschool my son. My son is 10, and I've homeschooled him since he was in my womb, probably, but yeah, so forever. Homeschooling, unschooling, holistic, sovereign, intuitive homeschooling, soul schooling. We do homeschool, but I call it something different. I call it soul schooling. And I have two other names, But anyways, so I'm with my son 24/7. I mean, 24/7, I do sleep. In fact, sleeping is delicious and great. Sleeping is another thing in another episode that I will do and talk about lucid dreaming, because lucid dreaming and dream reality is some of my favorite things to explore, and I've been exploring that since I was 5. So we'll talk about that some other time. So as a homeschooling mom that I'm with my son all the time, all day, there's movement. He's a boy. He is very active. If it's not his emotions, it's his mind, his body, all of it at the same time. It is so active and lots of going on. We're just like boom, boom. We got to figure things out. We have to move through things, move through life. And this is where I felt like I really was a little bit on the fence between the belief systems and the ideas that were kind of draining me a little bit of how I needed to do the homeschooling. And so through MOVEbit, I have really learned to be in a more nervous system regulated state, grounding myself, centering myself while in my life, like being in a meditative state, awake, moving through it. Not just, okay, hold on a second, I'm going to sit and meditate, and then here I'm really regulated, but now I'm going to go and do something, do my life and live my life, and all of a sudden it's overwhelming. It was Tom Campbell that said to me, meditation, you master meditation when you are in a bus full of kids and you are completely grounded and you're in meditation. What does that mean? You're in meditation. That means like you are in a very grounded, centered state where you are not reacting to your environment. You are present in it as an observer, and you are engaging in the environment, responding to the environment, but not reacting to it. It's not a personal thing. So through MOVEbit, I get to practice what it's like, what it feels like to be grounded in the moving through life, in the movement, in moving through life. And this is where we go into signal and rhythm, moving through life with rhythm and signal and movement and MOVEbit. I feel like the way that we were doing the homeschooling wasn't working for me, wasn't working for Wesley, wasn't working for anybody. It feels like continuously we have to be tweaking and switching, and that is okay for me because I know that children are constantly changing and they're in development. And now I realize that for us adults, we have to return to ourselves. We have to return to the core. And so I realized that, okay, we have to continue to be in his core, but how do we do this from a place that is not draining, that everybody's getting their needs met, that everybody feels seen, everyone feels heard, everyone feels good about doing the things that light them up, that are connected to their soul. How do we do this as a family? How do we do this homeschooling, right? Being together all the time. I honestly don't remember exactly at what moment it happened, but I had an intention that I put out to receive. This is like a prompt. I prompt myself to receive the answers from the universe. And I asked myself, I had an intention, please give me clarity on what would be the best, most efficient, most empowering, most harmonious way to move through our homeschooling life in a way that meets everybody's needs and that everyone gets to be in their soul, in their sauce, in their purpose, in what lights them up. How do we do this together in a new way, in a way that is aligned with our soul? So after I did that, I MOVEbit. I do my MOVEbit session, and then I trust and I know that the answer will show up because I aligned myself to my divinity. I returned to my truth. I mean, you can say it in so many different ways. It's like my nervous system returns to peace and grounding and centeredness, and you could say it like that. You can say my nervous system is completely at peace and grounded. You can say I return to my divinity, to the truth of who I am. I return to love. I return to the quantum field where anything is possible. You can say it in so many different ways. However, the result is what I receive, that I receive information and I receive the answers. It's like the ultimate version, next level ChatGPT, but even better because you can go into past, future, present. So anyway, so I received the answers. So I got the lead of rhythm. How do we create a song where we have two different tempos? And so I even started like researching songs that have different tempos and what that feels like and what that looks like instrumentally, but also what it feels like and what it sounds like, and how does it create harmony? How does it fit together? And so I started really going deeper into the tuning in and to our tempo. And every morning we would understand what tempo is, and then I would ask my son, what's your tempo today? And I'll tell you my tempo, and then we would set out on creating our day based on our tempos and how we sort of dance together and move together through life in a beautiful way, and creating our own personal songs as life, right? Life being a piece of music we created together, our life. Rhythm really regulates your nervous system. Rhythm is the original order of the universe. It's the primordial pulse, the beat of creation itself. It's not just musical timing, though. It's the energetic flow that governs life. The inhale and the exhale, the expansion and the contraction. It's the movement and the stillness. It's the night and day. It's the beating of your heart. Basically, to live in rhythm is to be in harmony with your truth. And imagine if you're in harmony with your truth, and your children are in harmony with their truth, and your spouse is in harmony with their truth, and everybody's in their truth, and they're in harmony. Okay, they're in harmony, and then you, as one, harmonize together into creating a song that has everybody's harmonies in it, and it creates one cohesive piece of music, becomes an anthem for your life. That has been a game changer. You're in rhythm. It's like you're returning path to source, to your own flow. I mean, it's just, and this is why I dance. And I have these MOVEbit transmissions that I've been sharing with you. And it's not just a dance. It's not like, hey guys, here I'm doing a little dance trend on Instagram and TikTok and whatever, YouTube shorts. No, I'm sharing a transmission. This is what I do. I do it whether I record it or not. And I, just like any athlete that watches the playback, I actually do record it for me first. I share it with you, but I record it for myself. I watch it, and I learn so much through my own movement that really just gives me so much information. And it actually like I get a reflection of myself. I just know that it does something energetically for me, and it feels so good, and it feels like I'm working with myself at a level I can't even explain, honestly, right now. But it is so transformational, and it is me returning to myself. It is me expressing in the most raw form what I'm feeling at the moment, what I'm feeling as I'm being turned on, like turning loud the volume of myself and expressing everything I need. It's a release, but it is also a, a nourishment at the same time. It is just such a powerful practice. It is such a powerful practice. So now we're living in rhythm. Living in rhythm is really being with your nervous system completely regulated, because imagine, like, the nervous system, when you're in rhythm, you're in resonance with your most natural state, the divine state. You're in resonance with that divine state, that point of presence, that point of just bigger picture, all possibilities. And it is you, what's coming through you. Your essence is just coming through you. It's not the conditioning that you've been under. It's not the programs you've been under. It's not the belief systems. It's not the ideas you've been led to believe that you have to do or be or should or whatever. It is direct from the divine, your essence coming through you. It is you tapping into all of that. And so rhythm, it is your rhythm. And then you attune yourself to the rhythm of the universe, of the earth, of each other. When people are super into, let's just say, a piece of music, and you are just like together and you're like, yeah, this is, you are literally vibrating at the same frequency, and you are creating this coherence. It is powerful. It's got to be powerful for people in concerts have that level of influence into, I mean, what probably is created is so music is so powerful. Music is so powerful. So let's talk about Signal. Signal was another game changer, because I want two things about that. Okay. One is when I heard Bruce Lipton talk about the cells in our bodies, which, by the way, we have trillions of cells in our body. And he said something like that he had seen so many cells for so many years, and that one of the things that everybody's cells are almost identical, but what really made us different from one another, that everything inside of our bodies is the same in every body, da 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 da. But what made us different from each other was our signal. It's a signal that every single cell in your body is picking up, like as in every single cell of that we have, there are like a little antennas, and those little antennas are picking up a signal. It's not coming from your body, it's coming from somewhere else in the ether or something, I don't know. And that is you. That is what makes you you. And then when you pass, that signal's gone. That's why it's like you just disconnect, you go offline. Let's talk about signal for a minute. Signal is the unique energetic broadcast of your soul. So when you tap into your soul, and it's going to give you, it's like the most important thing at that moment, or is the most important thing overall that you're aiming at. It's the most important thing at this very moment. So your soul, you tune in, and it's going to tell you, ding, 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 this is what's most alive in me right now. This is what's calling me into, like it's inviting me, nudging me, pulling me into becoming present in this. And I like to add the word sacred in this, because sacredness and sacred, when that comes into place, is because it is so worthy of your attention that it becomes sacred, because you bring your full presence into that. So even when I am folding laundry, or I am cleaning dishes, or I'm making food, or whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm with my son, I make it sacred, because I'm going to bring my full presence and make this a sacred experience. And anything can be a sacred experience if you deem it sacred, if you bring your own sacredness into your presence into it. So, signal is pure frequency and truth. It is the nonverbal language of your essence. It's the vibration that you emit before you walk into a room, before you even say a word. People can receive, people can feel that signal, that frequency. They can feel it. You can feel it. We all have a signal, but most people bury it deep within conditioning, beliefs, roles, performance, fears. So the volume gets turned down. You don't hear it anymore. This is why we return to ourselves, so that we can hear, be tuned into that signal, and then, but it doesn't end there. You hear the signal, well, then you have to put it into action. You have to create the actions that are going to move you. The thing is that your signal becomes clear when you are in rhythm. Ding, ding, ching, ching. Your signal becomes clear when you're in rhythm. Through my MOVEbit practice, I return to myself, return to my rhythm. Once I'm in my rhythm, guess what? I'm in my rhythm, I hear my signal. So I hear my signal, and then I do that. And I live in alignment with my truth. That's right there, the trifecta, game changer. We get to do life in a whole new way, in this, like creating new systems that supports our soul. Creating new systems that support our soul. And this is where divine embodiment comes in. See, the whole thing about sit down and tuned into my spirit, great. But what about bringing my spirit into my body? That's what I'm interested in. That's what's really worked for me. It's not about leaving it. It's about bringing it. It's not about leaving to go hang out with it. It's about grabbing it and descending into the body and then walking as spirit embodied. That's the work that I'm here to bring. That's what I am here to talk about. The programs, books, whatever it is that I'm going to be creating, this is what I live. And this is what I'm bringing to you because it is transformational. It is empowering. It is a whole new way to parent, to live through and move through life from this way of living, of seeing reality, because it is your rhythm that helps you refine your signal into coherence. And living in coherence also means that you live in more peace, even amidst the chaos, because you cannot avoid it. It's not like it's going to go away, okay? Because the person and a person, and they have different frequencies and different interpretations of reality. And it's like, no, but I see it black. No, but I see it white. But why? It's all different at this. But is it truth? We don't know, because that's their interpretation of reality, and that's their interpretation of reality. And so everybody has their own truth. Now, what we need to focus on is how can we all coexist in coherence, in harmony, as one, respecting each other's truth, or at least having the compassion and the empathy to say, well, you know what, that person, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about that person has a perspective. That person has, and I have my own, and we all have our ways of seeing the world. Is it true? Maybe it's true for me. Maybe it's true for them. However, though, if we focus on how can we all live in harmony with ourselves, in rhythm with ourselves, and then how can we all create this beautiful symphony together, this song together, where we all get to express our song, our music, and create this one big symphony. And so I'm probably going to stop right there and leave you with that. and we can work, because we're going to continue having these conversations. We're going to deepen into it, because as just my essence, it's all about deepening. I can't help it. It's my favorite thing to do. Deep diving into things and going deeper, deeper, and deeper, and deeper. Last note on rhythm and signal is that rhythm is the return path, and signal, it's what gets activated once you're there. And if you live your life from that, you are going to definitely be in alignment with yourself, with the truth of your being, and it feels so good. Okay. Let's go into the question. I'm going to bring my computer in so I can see this. So the question is, I'd love to hear how you integrated your identity, motherhood, and partnership. When I first read the question, I didn't understand. When I first read the question, I didn't totally understand exactly what it meant. I guess she wants to know how I didn't lose myself in those roles, and how do I stay rooted in my truth. I guess my process of integration, how do I remain fully myself while also holding the energetic containers of mother and partner? Okay, first I want to talk about identity, because I actually have a really specific perspective when it comes to identity. For me, identity is tied to my character, Silvie Celiz. See, this is the way I see reality. Silvie Celiz is a character that I play, that I came here to animate, to experience through this character, kind of like in a video game where you were playing Mario Brothers, and you're not Mario, but you're playing Mario. And you are the one that animates Mario, but you're not Mario. So for me, identity is attached to my character, which, and would be Mario. Mario has an identity, right? Silvie Celiz would have some sort of personality, identity, and however, I don't see myself as Silvie Celiz. Silvie Celiz is a character that I play. Therefore, Silvie Celiz because who I truly am is the one that is the being that is animating Silvie Celiz. That's how I see it. Then I don't have an identity attached. I can do and be however I want, and whatever is really coming through me. I come in knowing what I want, knowing how I want to live, knowing who I am, which is a divine being, source player who is creative, who has a vision for the life that I want to experience. And I go through life, moving through life with the relationship that I'm being led into from source, from spirit, from my divine self. So Silvie Celiz is being led into life through the truth of who I am, through me, right? So how do I integrate everything? Well, because the core of who I am, the center, the grounding is what I focus on. It's if I'm focused in my truth, in the core of who I am, knowing who I am, and returning to myself over and over and over and over and over. And when I get, when I get completely sucked into the matrix, or a fear-based thought or a belief system or an identity, right? Then I return to myself every single day, again and again, to remember who I am, to remember the truth of my essence, And then from that point, see, it's a checkmate. It's the one move that you make in the checkerboard, returning to yourself, which then naturally allows everything to fall into place. Because from that point, I mother. From that point, I partner. From that point, I express. From that point, I create. So the more that I return to myself, the more that I am completely embodied, divinely embodied, and that is my main focus, then I know what to do and where to go and what to, like, I know my signal. And that signal will just play the beats, the rhythms, the melodies of every single role in my life, of every single department in my life. It will actually, it's like it's like jumping into a pool, and it makes all these ripple effects into all the sides of the pool. And so but the one move is that jump, right? The jump into the pool. And then all of the walls of the entire pool will get taken care of with the ripples, right? The water. So again, I'm going to read it. The how you integrated your identity, your motherhood, and your partnership. So it's by returning to myself. That's the answer. Returning to the truth of who I am, which is not my identity. The truth of who I am is not my partnership, and it's not my mothering. All of those are extensions of the core, right? So the core of who I am will come into motherhood. The core of who I am will come into my partnership. The core of who I am will come into Silvie Celiz expression character. And so that's why it's all coming from the source, from the core. And that's the integration. The integration is going to come from the return to yourself and sustaining that connection, that attunement. It becomes a coherent, resonant ripple effect that naturally pours into my mothering, it pours into my partnership, my relationship, pours into my creations, it pours into my expression. And the more that I return to myself, embody my essence, the more that all those things become one, because they are not separate from who I am. They're not separate from who I am. They are the embodiments that I chose to play in, I mother from my truth. I don't mother from the expectation of what motherhood has to look like or that needs to be like for anybody. I come into it from my vision and my feeling and my intuition that tells me this is how my child needs to be mothered. This is how I want to show up as a mother. And the same thing with my relationship. And I actually had this conversation the other day with somebody. I don't even remember with who, but I showed up as myself. I said, this is my vision of life. This is who I am. And if you have that same vision and you want to be in this partnership with living this vision as well, well, then awesome. These are my non-negotiables. And I stood really clear and into my own essence, into my truth. And then so he was in alignment with that. So then here we are 22 years later. Everybody's asleep in the house, by the way. That's why I'm talking a little bit lower. I said today is the day, not one day longer is passing that I am not creating this podcast. I think it becomes challenging when you are not 100% in the awareness, in the understanding or knowing of who you are. And the more that you marinate yourself in your own sauce, that's how like to see it. The more you marinate yourself in your own essence, you can't help but bring all of you everywhere you go. Again, that's why it's called the Silvie Celiz Truth, because I feel so passionate about really reaching your own truth, personal truth, and living your truth, whatever that may be. And it is open to changing as well, because we change and we expand. And as we do that, maybe our truth gets challenged, and we get to change as well our perspective, our perception of reality. Now, I know that when we become moms, part of our character identity, I think it totally dies. I'm big on birth and rebirth. I mean, death and rebirth, in the alchemy and transformation constant of everything, of ourselves, our emotions. And in my personal experience, when I became a mom, it was like the death of Silvie, the person that I was up to that point, the character, and then the birth of the mother. So it's sort of like you get to feel the grief of the death of your previous self, and then the excitement and the joy and the awe of the birth of the mother. These archetypes, right, that we play. And I didn't know that I was going to be such devoted mother. I felt it was a calling for me. My son, I for me for me being for me being super devoted as a mother was a like a must. However, since I continued to return to myself all the time, to return to myself all the time, I brought that essence into the mother. I think that it's just this force just becomes even like, I think I think it reveals more of your essence, I feel. Now, the trick is that you got to have the courage to fly it. You got to have the courage to be it, to express it, to embody it. And maybe some people or some moms may feel a lot of pressure from their family, from society, from the system, from the culture, from whatever belief systems, of an idea of who you need to be as a mom. And and I think that's really for you to decide, for you to choose, because of the soul that chose you as a mom. But the soul that chose you as a mother is chose you because of your essence. It didn't choose you because of your identity, your personality. It chose you because of the core of who you are, as a frequency alignment. It's a synergy. It's a magnetic attraction of frequencies that come in to help each other grow and to activate each other into evolutionary growth, into growth, into love, into pure love. And because love has no conditions, it's not about, if I do this, then you give me that and I get this. And that's not love. Love is something that you just you just are. is like, I'm going to do this regardless, whether you thank me or you don't thank me, because I just love you, and there's no other thing that I would do in this entire universe than love you. And that's it, you know? He doesn't have to be anybody. He doesn't have to do anything. He's just my son, and I love him in every single way. Because I love him, that's all. That's it. It's just as simple as that. It's just as simple as that. I feel like through my MOVEbit practice and living from rhythm and signal, it has been a way to return to myself, to just really marinate in my own sauce, in my divine embodiment, and lead my life from there. Therefore, I didn't really have to do much to integrate it, but it all just comes together. I stay because my rooting, my grounding, my main focus and signal is to return to myself. And from that frequency, because everything is vibration, frequency, signal, everything is like such a magnetic pull. It's such a frequency alignment. It is a mirror, a synergy looping. The battery ran out on that episode, and it was really late at night, so I decided to do a new ending right here, because this is going to be my new setup for now. When this is posting, the day before, like today, right now, it's the lunar solar eclipse in Pisces, and I am going to be going with my family to the beach and spend the night. Kind of coincidental, but it's interesting how lunar solar eclipse in Pisces, very watery. We're going to be in the water. Everybody's going to get triggered. Everything's going to be, I have no idea. But we are aware of trigger alerts coming up, and we are ready to release, because in full moons, it's a wonderful time to do a lot of alchemical release work. I woke up today at 4 a.m. in the morning, and already I was starting to tune in and feel what was coming up for me, like what I needed to release, which was pretty amazing and very, very revelatory. In fact, I'm going to do an episode on some of the things that came up, because I think they are definitely a lot of the things that we all go through as humans, having emotions and having childhoods and parents, and living in a society in a particular structure. And while we are so much more than that, structure and system, in a society that lives in a specific type of system, but we are so much more than that, than what we've been told that we are, that we should be, that we need to be, that is acceptable. So I'm going to definitely be talking more about those things, at those subjects and topics every Monday. I'm going to be posting. So look out for moon days, Mondays. Mondays are moon days. And I work a lot with the cycles of the moon. Love, love, love working with the new moon and the full moon. Super excited about tonight. I'm pretty excited to see what comes out, but it's already coming out. When you are in tune with your intuition, it just flows. The next thing that comes, like, you're just in tune with the cycles of the nature of I feel like, even though I didn't know it was a full moon, like, we planned this whole thing, and so I think it's very, very aligned for a reason. So I feel that it's so important for everyone to know that this is actually your birthright. You have this intuitive system within you that needs to be activated, that needs to be navigated from that perspective, that needs to be developed, that you can use it, and it is just so potent and so magical. And so these are some of the things that we're going to be exploring on motherhood and creativity, empowerment, embodiment, divine embodiment. We're going to talk about definitely about releasing trauma, authenticity, intuition, where we're going into the future with AI and all that stuff, but how you as a human and a consciousness animating this human experience, how can you thrive as a consciousness human being in what's going to be coming in the future? I also want to share how I am creating a new way of taking on your child's education. And I don't even like the word homeschooling, so I don't see it as homeschooling, but I'll do an episode on that as well so we can talk about it. So here are a few things you need to know. I'm going to be posting every Monday. I have a free 7-day journey towards returning to yourself in the description. Check it out, it's free. And one thing that I'm going to be doing starting the next episode is I'm going to be choosing a song, and I will be sharing a MOVEbit transmission with you at the end of the episode. Not in this one, but in the next one. And we'll see how that goes. I will also be answering a question in every episode. So if you have any questions for me, you want me to talk about something specifically, please leave me a comment with your question, or you can DM me on Instagram as well. And that's it. I think that's it. I'm wishing you a beautiful, beautiful rest of your week. Until then,